afternoon, y'all. Thank you for being here today. So just to give you all some information, we are having a industry partner panel with KUB, Knoxville Utilities Board, as part of our Skills USA Week celebration. My name is Nellie Blanton. I'm our admissions counselor and recruiter. Most of you all often see me when I am giving tours. And so we have some different individuals from Knoxville Utilities Board here today to give you a little bit of information about the company, but also tell you about the different career paths you can take with them once you leave us at TCAT, because we are looking to help build a better partnership with them. And I think part of that's going to start with you all having an understanding of what career options there are for you when you graduate. So the first question I'm going to ask the panel is I'm going to ask them each to introduce themselves and tell us about what department they are over and kind of what the different things within that department look like.
Well, good afternoon. My name's Doug Miller, and I've been with Knoxville Utilities Board for almost 35 years. So started in 1989, just about a week out of high school. And it's a pleasure to be here. We already partner with you guys on some CDL training for our line workers and our underground construction folks. So glad to be here and kind of getting to meet you all and find out a little bit more about what you do. I'm in underground construction group. Prior to that, I managed the overhead construction group where Mike is today. It was in system operations before that, so a lot of opportunity at KUB, but my daily responsibilities now are to oversee the capital improvement, new service, maintenance, and emergency response on KUB's gas, water, and wastewater systems out in the distribution system. So mostly here in the city of Knox, but we go deep west for natural gas, and we also go up east, up Asheville Highway area with our water system. We had a takeover there a few years ago. Okay.
Michael Smith, I'm in the electric. We serve 215,000 electrical customers. We take it from TVA and bring it all the way to your house. I've been there 23 years. My daily duties, I've got 6 supervisors that report to me, and all aspects of the electric, from power outages to maintenance. Say you're building a home and you need new power run to the house. Each one of those sections does something different. A lot to do in the electric, and I'll give it to Lynn.
I'm Lynn Kitts. I work in the transportation department. I've been there almost 34 years. I'm a supervisor. In the transportation department, we work on everything that KUB owns as far as that. Our running joke is we've got everything but a helicopter. Believe it or not, we've actually got a boat. So we work on the big stuff, we work on the little Briggs and Stratton engines, we work on all of it.
My name is Bryson Kidd. I'm in the meter systems department. I'll be there 4 years and about 2 weeks. So my daily duties is I oversee about 15 guys. Kind of what meters does is they install your gas, electric, well, not electric, but mostly gas and water meters. We maintain those every 30 years, keep them up to date. Meters is kind of unique. We touch all the utilities, electric, water, and gas. Some of the other things we do is we're over the RPNR, which is the revenue recovery, so theft of electric, water, and gas. We got about 36 service techs in our group as a total. Like I say, anything from new installations to maintenance is kind of what we oversee.
Hey everybody, my name's Hannah Clater, and I actually work with Bryson and Meter Systems. I've been in that role about a month, so I'm kind of learning that role, but one thing that helped me understand meters was it's really the cash register of KUB, so it's really important to have data integrity and mechanical integrity with all the assets, so it's a wide bandwidth of things. But I've been at KUB for about 9 years. I actually started as a student and then kind of worked my way up. Most of my time was actually spent in water and wastewater maintenance and operations. So if anybody is interested in that area, I'd love to talk about it. So basically what we do in relation to that is KUB has 1 water plant and 4 wastewater treatment plants. So all the maintenance and operation that goes along with treating water and then pumping water to your house or pumping water away from your house, and then ultimately making sure that it goes back to the river cleaner than what the river currently is. All of that gets covered under that technical role in maintenance and operations. So it's pretty cool.
Could you tell us a little bit more about your journey from starting as a student to kind of where you are now?
Sure. So I went to UT and I started, I studied more business-related studies, and just my senior year of my master's program, I started as a student at KUB in the safety department and then got hired full-time. I really enjoyed my time at KUB as a student, and then got hired into the plant operations where I worked at the plants, at the wastewater plant actually, so it was a really cool learning experience. And then moved to maintenance, and then moved to meters. And then Doug, you started as a student as well, didn't you?
So, yep, in 1989, KUB had a seasonal program where you could come in and work during the summer months primarily, and also a student program. So I began going to school at Tennessee Institute of Electronics. It's no longer there, but it was over on Tazewell Pike in that area there. So while I was going to school there, I was working evenings and nights at KUB, working as the emergency operator. So after hours, when most folks went home, people still had utility problems. They had, no water or a water leak, or maybe maybe they thought they smelled natural gas inside their home or outside, or maybe a car hit a pole, or maybe their power just went out. So for 2 years, almost 2 years, I worked that emergency operator role, either like from 5 to midnight or midnight to 7. And then I had to be at school at 8, even on those night shifts. So I would roll right out of the night shift and drive to Tazewell Pike and go to school from 8 to 1, during the day. Now that wasn't every day. It was like 3 times a week. So yeah, good student program still at KUB. Also a utility apprentice program being started at KUB, and several areas, entry-level positions, available at KUB as well in the groups that are represented here.
Could you all talk a little bit more about those entry-level positions?
Sure, I'll talk about underground construction. We have a utility apprentice position that opens from time to time. We usually have 1 apprentice. It is someone who generally has maybe recently graduated high school. They don't have a lot of transferable skills, but they like to work with their hands, like to be outside in the elements versus sitting behind a desk, that kind of thing. And then we also have what we call a Construction Tech 1. And there are 4 levels of Construction Tech. 4 would be like one of my senior crew leads who rolls out with 4 crew members and $1 million worth of equipment every day. And he's responsible for those crew members, their safety, getting the job done, and taking care of that equipment from a day-to-day basis. The Construction Tech 1 entry level is an area where you come in and you will get exposure to each area in underground construction. So you'll spend some time with emergency response. You'll spend some time on the natural gas team, water team, wastewater team, plus the program work that we do. So we operate every valve, every KUB valve, water valve, and gas valve on the system on a rotational basis. We maintain every fire hydrant that you see here in the city to make sure that it is ready to go anytime we need fire protection. And typically, if you're successful in that role, after about 2 years, you get promoted to a construction tech 2. A lot of folks in underground construction will remain a construction tech 2 for perhaps their entire career. But then their tech 3 is more of a entry crew leader role, and then like I said, we've got tech 4, which is that more senior crew leader. So, any questions about that?
In hearing your all's history with the company, it definitely sounds like KUB is a company you can have a career with, not just a job with, and you'll all seem to want a career with it. So I think that's really good information for our students to have. I'm going to call on some of our students to come and ask you all questions, since they're the ones that may potentially be working for you one day. So I'm going to call my first SkillsUSA officer, Miss Teddy, up to ask a question.
Okay. Hello, my name is Janisla Muhammad. I'm in the HVAC program, and I just wanted to know, is there any entry-level jobs or position for a student like me who doesn't have much experience in my field? I kind of just came to this school, toured the place, and liked HVAC, so I picked HVAC, and I've been here since September. So would there be any job for someone like me graduating out of this program?
So where I came from was system maintenance for water, wastewater. So we get a lot of HVAC inclined people, or people that know HVAC systems apply on jobs.
Mm-hmm.
Some of our best folks are actually, they come from an HVAC background. Mm-hmm. The skills that you learn, and I'm assuming not ever been through an HVAC program, but it's a lot of troubleshooting,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And figuring out the system, and really that's a big part of a plant environment. You're not dealing with just one asset that's kind of by itself. You have to look at the whole system, which has a lot of transferable skills when you're talking about the study of like an HVAC system. Mm-hmm. So that being said, just like Doug mentioned, we do have apprentice programs as well, or we do have an apprentice with us currently, and that would be an option for kind of an entry-level HVAC interested person.
Okay.
But yeah, I think especially in the maintenance field, and maybe similar to how the other utilities are, is a lot of times you don't get background in the utility that you're coming from. So a lot of people aren't coming from like a wastewater background or water background. But the skills you learn in programs that are very similar, like if you learn about pumps or rotating equipment, hydraulic systems, things like that, are all the stuff we really look for in applicants. So.
Okay, thank you.
Also, I guess to add what Hannah was saying, Meter Systems also recently opened a program. It's the appliance program. So we have about six techs right now that are getting trained up. I think we've actually had a pipe fitter that came from here that we recently hired. So it's the same thing. We can have kind of bring a utility apprentice in as that as well. With it being so new, right now we're just limited to water heaters,
Mm-hmm.
but eventually we are going to break out and kind of work on the HVAC systems, and as far as installations, new installations, and maintaining that equipment as well. So definitely room.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Noah?
Hi, I'm Noah. I wanted to ask, what made you guys each choose KUB? And like, what made you want to work there?
All right. So, when I was graduating high school in 1989, there wasn't a lot of emphasis placed when I was in high school with guidance about what we should do. So I had some things in mind. And originally I wanted to go to KUB to be a line worker, but those classes just don't come around very often. And at the time, you didn't really know. Now, they're on much more of a structured schedule now that Mike can talk to you about, typically every 3-4 years. So So my direction was to get into KUB, and then turns out my path once I got inside of KUB led me in different directions, and I didn't go the line worker route. There were other doors that opened up for me, and I spent about 15 years in system operations, where you're working shifts, it's 24/7. And you're communicating all the trouble events that come in, and I found that to be very exciting. So that's why I stayed, where I did.
I guess kind of similar to Doug, but a little different. I graduated in '91. I spent 3 years at the University of Tennessee, changed the major about 5 times. I hated it the whole time I was there. Just to be honest with you, I done really good in high school, but just never found out what I wanted to do. And I took a student job at another utility, and lo and behold, about a year later, I fell in love with line work. And first available job was with a contractor, so I took it, went through a 4-year apprenticeship program, and during that apprenticeship program, I probably worked at 10 different utilities throughout East Tennessee, and occasionally going hurricanes, snowstorms, and KUB was one of the places that I thought, when they open up jobs, I'd worked around here enough, that's where I wanted to be. So came to KUB in 2000. I was a journeyman line worker then, and made foreman, supervisor. It's a great place to grow. All we look for is effort and honesty, and you can. Sky's the limit. And I have no high school, I have a high school education, no college education, and I've still been able to progress. So I wish there would have been more emphasis on technical stuff back then, because I was told you've got to go to college. And my wife's got a master's degree in student debt, and I outpace her, which college is nice, but you do not have to go. There's plenty of things to do at KUB and make a living.
I was going to say, it sounded like you needed a TCAT in your life when you got out of high school.
Yep. Well, I didn't know what I wanted to do. Everybody said that nobody in my family had been in electrical work. My father retired at Y12 at the plant, so I really didn't know what he done. It was all classified stuff, and I just, by the grace of God, fell in love with it, and here I am.
Here you are now.
So, my name is Joseo Vasquez, and the question I have for y'all is, do y'all work with any fiber optics or anything like that?
So us up here, we don't directly deal with it. Maybe Mike, you're maybe the closest at this point, but we, as you guys know, KUB has a 5th division now, fiber. So we have a whole group dedicated to that. I believe right now during kind of the implementation, a lot of the work kind of doing the actual manual labor of it is contracted out. You guys correct me if I'm wrong on that, or Eden. But I'm imagining in the next couple years, those will start coming more in-house.
What's happening right now is we're building the system, so we're in year two of 7 of the school rollout. So a lot of the outside plant work, statements, bolts and wires, that's being constructed by contractors. But there's still a lot of full-time employees that are coming on board in this process. So we're starting to hire installation technicians, splicing technicians. There's some engineering type roles, like inspectors, GI support, people doing things that work. So there's a lot of things that are already starting to be in place and we just want to
We do put some of it in electric, but we have splicers. We run the cable, and we have to get a contractor. I think these folks now, we're starting to get a few. We've never had any splicers there.
a follow-up. Do you have your certification in fiber? Were you one of the students? We had some of our electrical students went through some of the training, so I thought maybe that's why you were asking.
I think we have at least one apprentice working with us in fiber now from TCAT.
Oh, great.
One of our
Yes. So at this point, I still have some questions I'd be happy to ask, but this panel is for you all and what you all are wanting to learn and know. So are there any other students that would like to come up and ask a question at this time?
Thank you. So I'm Andrew McCoy. I'm in the pipe fitting program, and I know you said something about one of our students, Ellis, coming through there. Could you like expand on like how how it's going to grow for pipe fitters in your company?
Yeah, so like I say, right now we're just doing water heaters. It is going to get to the point where we're putting in HVAC units, grills, fireplaces, and the need for pipe fitters is going to go up basically just because of we're kind of limited right now. We like I say we only have 6 people. Besides basically appliance, our group as well. We run a lot of pipe, a lot of work that's gas engineering ran, whether their standards have been updated or such. But like today we had one where we ran probably like 18 foot of pipe. So we do have a pipe truck that runs, we ran up to 60 feet before. So I mean, that's something, you know, we kind of train on if that's something you're interested in when you do apply or utility, apprentice, anything, you know, on the front end, we'd love to know and get you where you'd best be fit for.
Yeah, we're trying to, me and my partner Paris are trying to get in on KB, so eventually,
So
whenever. Thank you.
thank you.
Anyone else? Come on.
I'm David Craig with the Computer Information Technology Program, and I just wanted to ask if you had any opportunities along that line in KUB.
So, yeah, Craig, is that right? Craig,
Yes.
we do, we've got an information services group at KUB, and it's, you know, everything from computer engineering to programming, you know, some coding. We have a help desk that, you know, supports the entire organization, but, you know, cybersecurity is extremely important to KUB. I forget how many thousand attacks you know we get in a given 24-hour period, and also we have another group which is part of our SCADA group. It's supervisory control and data acquisition. So that's how we control and monitor and get, you know, data back from all of our remote sites. So every substation, every gas regulator, every booster pump station, every sewer lift station, all of our plants can be monitored remotely from our operations center. So it's a very secure system and kind of runs on a separate, you know, firewall, if you will, a different system. But we're very technologically heavy with, you know, AMI now, and you know, and we're utilizing our own fiber to be able to communicate with every meter out there eventually, you know, and also all of our remote sites, like I said before. But somebody else want to expand on that?
Yeah, so I mentioned earlier, a meter for KUB is our cash register, right? So all the information that's stored in that meter has to come back to us. We use radio frequency to transmit that data, and Doug mentioned AMI, which stands for Advanced Meter Interface Infrastructure. I'm still learning, 66% correct. So we do in our department, and other departments at KUB have classifications called like system administrators, where it's sort of what I would consider like a hybrid IT person. So you're doing some in the field work where you're troubleshooting components that are supposed to be talking back to the main system, but they're not for whatever reason. So if that is if that's an area of focus where people like working with their hands, but are also very like IT inclined, those are really good opportunities for folks that have that interest. We have 3 or 4 in our group, and then there's some across other departments as well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Sure.
You have a job posting website, or do you go through other providers? What's the best way to see kind of where, what kind of jobs are hiring for?
So we do at kub.org, I think /careers. Eden, is that right? Okay. All the jobs are posted on there, but I believe if you do like a general search on like Indeed, they should be reflected in there as well. We have 3 HR people sitting behind you too, so they can correct me. We are getting ready to switch our software that the applications go through, so if anybody's applied on jobs and you come back to it next week, it should be a lot more streamlined. You can apply from your phone. You can save your profile. And I think it can send you alerts and things like that now. So if you guys check it out next week, it'll be brand new to us. So we're excited about that.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Yes, just to plug, we will have 4 service tech positions going live next week. So if you are interested in that, please come talk to me or Bryson after. We can give you more details.
So this may be an Eden question more than a you all question, but in terms of employment and students applying to jobs, I know there are some positions that list an associate's degree as the requirement, but since you all are here and have talked about your experience within the company, and I know that we're wanting to build our partnership, is a TCAT diploma considered equal to that requirement as well?
I think on a lot of postings, we've really tried to look at what the minimum requirements are and make them more inclusive. So I think I've seen a lot of the associate have like an or equal component of some sort.
Yeah, awesome. I just wanted to clarify that for all of our students.
I have a question. A couple of things. One is, I have a question for you about wastewater. So what is the credential that is needed to work in wastewater?
So in order to operate the plant, you have to have a license to be able to operate. However, really the state just dictates that there has to be one operator in charge, so which we have a lot of operators that are certified through the state. So it is not a requirement. If you guys see a posting for an operator, we get a lot of folks come in without that certification. So it is not a barrier to entry. I will say, just kind of based on how the market's been, my understanding the last couple years has been pretty saturated with folks that have, especially moving out from like California and other states, kind of during COVID, they've come in with certifications. But again, it is not a requirement. So Pellissippi has like an operator training. Is that why you're kind of going with that?
No,
Okay.
I'm just curious because that is an avenue that we have not really explored here. But I know nationwide, when you look at wastewater treatment plants and other things, there's lots of openings. But how could TCAT fill that workforce need if you have it? What do we need to do as a school to help with that? If Pellissippi has it already, then there's probably no need for us to do that if they're answering your bell.
Yeah, and I think for the operator spot, you're really looking for somebody who is willing to work rotating shifts, because it is a 24/7 operation. So they have a little bit of a different shift than other, from like a meters or like I guess transportation, there's lots of after hours work for all field personnel, but operators have a little bit of a different need there. And then for one quirky thing with the certification requirement is my understanding is you do have to have like hands-on actual experience at the plant to count towards that. You can't sit for that exam without a certain amount of experience. So that's where I think Pellissippi has kind of looked at partnering with like KUB and other utilities to be able to get students access to that so that they can sit for certifications. But what I've seen too, I mean, if you're motivated and you study, it's a pretty challenging test. people are fine to take it, and KUB pays for your test, your certification fees, and there's even a bonus for passing. So we definitely incentivize getting that done as quickly as possible once you get hired.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions, class, students? One more? Come on.
It's really for my whole HVAC class because some of them are back there, but they haven't asked any questions yet. So I'm gonna ask it for them. A person for my class with the EPA license, their OSHA 10, and all their electrical exits, like the ATL and everything, what department or like who would they apply under for a co-op? Or you all like set up for a co-op with us?
So, and Eden, jump in here, but we are exploring some co-ops. You know, but as far as, you know, we look at transferable skills and, you know, where you would be able to put those skills to use. For example, on the construction tech, our transferable skills could be anything from, you know, you like to be outside, you like to work with your hands, you like to troubleshoot, you like to kind of learn, you know, different things above and beyond what you've learned with your HVAC training, and so, you know, but I would say. And I've hired some folks that have an HVAC background that just, you know, they want to do something different. Maybe they're looking for more stability, you know, insurance. I mean, things like that. There's a number of reasons they might come our way. But I think that, in having said all that, going back to the meters group is probably going to be the best suited for the HVAC because, you know, at one time KUB was full-blown into appliance repair. And this has been years ago. So our customers could call for refrigerator, heat and air, water heater, you know, all those things. And we got out of that business for a while. And now we're stepping back into that business. So I'm going to say meters is probably going to be, you know, if you want to stick with that kind of skill, you know, that's probably going to be your best option.
Yeah, and not just the appliance repair, like our guys on the daily are altering and messing and troubleshooting gas appliances, because they say if we do have to change a meter out, the gas is off. So if anything has a pilot or anything that needs to be relit, you have to go in the house and get it going again. So say if you can't, you know, you can troubleshoot it as a thermocoupling circuit board. Is it something, you know, more extensive? So don't want to just point towards appliances. I mean, we do a little troubleshooting and have a little bit of the surface as well. Maybe not as far as in depth, but we still, you know, mess with them.
Okay, because my guy Chris back there applied to you guys. So there you go, Chris. Apply to meters.
Yeah, I think that's one good thing to think about is, you know, it's one thing I didn't really do a great job when I was going through school of asking myself, but if you're in a certain program, you know, because you like certain aspects about it, you know, just kind of being aware of what aspects you like about it and then making sure you kind of look at job postings really clearly and see what those skills are, not necessarily, it could even be you're applying the same skills to different equipment. Because, you know, KUB would never really, I say right now, we would never really post like an HVAC repair technician. But like Bryson said, there's probably 4 or 5 other jobs where, you know, those skills that you learn in those programs would apply a lot and probably give you a leg up on some other employees that, you know, may not have that knowledge. So, but like Bryson said, in meters, knowing how like home climate systems work is a huge safety concern too, especially dealing with natural gas and just making sure we can trust people to go out there and take care of people's assets and, you know, just provide reliable power and gas to them. So we like seeing well-rounded backgrounds.
To where we have technical students now as well.
So we have one utility apprentice and 2 students. The utility apprentice and the 2 students mainly do PMs, oil changes, tar changing, that kind of thing. So that's kind of an entry level in transportation department. And so far, they're doing really good.
Okay, so we've talked about, applying to a job, some of the different departments, things like that. What are some of the perks of working for KUB? Someone mentioned insurance earlier. Everyone loves some insurance. I didn't know if there were any other.
So like I'll say, I started when I was 19. KUB is kind of like my first big boy job. I had no idea going in. I've just heard from the community and people that I knew that KUB was good. Like, they were going to take care of you. It's not something just a couple of years and you're going to leave. The benefits are great. They're more than fair with you. It's one of those things. Safety is their top priority, so you know you're going to be safe going home every day. It's very family oriented. So like I say, we work with underground, wastewater. We all kind of work together to make a team. And at the end of the day, it's just about helping the community, and we're all a team, and just to get the job done right. So.
Yeah, and maybe some of the nitty gritty too. I know when I told you guys I started as a student, so KUB actually paid to go back to school. So there is like tuition reimbursement program. So if you do get in and then want to explore like other, an associate's degree or even a bachelor's, like we've had technicians, really love it, but then decide, hey, they really like engineering, so they'll go get their engineering degree and then kind of transition into that role within KUB. So I really like that. And then just as a very risk-averse person, it's a very stable job environment, which, a lot of trades aren't necessarily known for having the most stability in jobs, right? Especially some groups can be more volatile than others just based on the market. So that is, especially when you talk like construction industry, right? Very volatile with the market changes. So, groups like underground construction, or if you like just construction groups, and, KUB is a great place to find that stable career. You don't have to travel, outside of KUB territory. So there's lots of perks in that regard.
So, along those same lines, we have a lot of applicants that come in, and they will say a couple things. I hear that safety is top priority for you. Where I came from, they didn't really care about what our job site looked like, or if we got in a trench that was 6 foot deep without a trench box, or getting to and from the job site safely. So we hear that quite a bit at KUB, and also it really is from the contractor world. Last week, for example, maybe you noticed it rained every day. It was a washout. So unless we're working trouble, we're not laying pipe. I mean, it's too muddy. You get off the road and you sink to the axle. So, but we don't send our guys home with no pay. We do training. We invest in them every opportunity that we have. So I have about 15 washout days per year based on history. And I've got 6 hours of training lined up. So when I'm looking at the forecast and I see Thursday is going to be a washout day, then we train. We invest in our employees and make sure that we've got something productive for everybody to do for that day, other than send you home without pay, which we don't do, or everybody just, sit around and for the day. Also, too, I'll talk for the construction groups in general, overhead and underground with Mike here. You may see this as a perk, you may not, but overtime. So when do we work overtime? We work overtime when our customers need us to work. And that may be on Christmas Day. That may be tonight at 2 a.m. We can't control Mother Nature. We can't control when somebody's going to hit a pole out here on the system. But you know what? Those things can't wait. So we have standby, and when we get above and beyond standby, we begin calling people in on double time. So if you're making $20 an hour, Now you're making 40. So again, that may be something that's interesting to you. It may not be. But the construction groups do work a fair amount of overtime.
Yeah, I think our group right now is averaging about 30% overtime for the year. So, like Doug said, the nights, weekends, holidays, well, this past Christmas, everybody here was probably affected. If you live around here with TVAs rolling blackouts, we had people in here around the clock. I stayed in here Christmas Eve, the day before Christmas Eve, which we were supposed to have a holiday. My holiday was spent in here. I did get to go home Christmas morning, so there was probably 20 or 30 of us working the inside, assisting the people that was working the outside. So, I don't know, we may have had 150 employees working those 2 or 3 days there, but we're kind of like Waffle House. We don't close and we don't lock the doors.
But do you have breakfast food?
Occasionally.
Yeah, one thing too, if you guys are interested in applying KUB, I would definitely encourage you to be honest with how much overtime you're wanting to work. There's a ton of variation in between the groups, just even sitting up here. You know, Doug mentioned 30%. I think meters is more like 5%. Maintenance probably averages 10 to 15%, but sometimes it can be a performance factor. If an employee comes in, maybe they're asked to work a lot of overtime. That's not really what they thought it would be. So I would just say, just be honest with yourself with that, because it really, you know, we have to respond when there's issues. So it can affect performance, and we need people to kind of be ready and able to work. So just KUB is probably not a place for somebody who wants to just go home, clock out, not think about it, come back. You have to be available and be willing to help whenever you, obviously people have lives, we all have lives outside, but to some extent you have to be willing to come in and kind of help out your community, so.
So being a team player is important if you apply too. Yeah. So does anyone else have another question? My last question for you all, and thank you for your time and for coming out today and meeting with all of us. What is your favorite part of your job? Or a favorite part?
Let's see. So I really like the aspect of KUB where this sounds really corny, but we are helping the community, and there's a direct impact on the work that we do every day to the health and well-being of the community. So I went to school for environmental science, which kind of learning more about that, and this is where I wish I would have asked myself harder questions on why I was studying that, but I wanted to help the environment. And I kind of realized working at KUB is that KUB is the most impactful on the environment, depending on how we do our practices. So I really enjoyed that aspect of it, and it is really interesting to see, and customers, a lot of times they're not happy, but you know, we're here to help them no matter what their opinions are, I guess. But I really like being part of the community and providing essential service. When I used to train on wastewater stuff, I would say, you know, I would always remind people that like utility services a lot of times are what separates like industrialized nations from non-industrialized countries. You know, wastewater treatment and water treatment especially really make a huge difference on the health and well-being of a community, you know, from a health perspective and just from a sanitary perspective. So I really like that aspect, being helpful.
So I agree with Hannah, but like I was talking about earlier, it's very family oriented. You know, I've had jobs before where you go up to your boss and they really don't want to mess with you. You know, everybody at KUB will drop what they're doing to help you in any aspect. Another thing, I feel like there's always growth. You're never just stuck in a position, you know. Say if you come to meters and you're not liking it, and you want to bid out underground, you're more than welcome to do it, and you're not going to be, you know, held accountable for anything. So I like that aspect too, is just it never stops. It's as far as you want to take it, so.
So he stole mine. I like the family atmosphere because we spend more time at KUB with our KUB family than we do our own families. And they're always fair, and just always be honest. That's a key thing.
as far as on the electrical side, you know, they've all mentioned family. There's nothing better than going out with working, I'll say co-workers, but you can call them buddies, friends. Look out through there and you've got wire, poles laying everywhere, and that final moment when you hit the switch and you see all the lights come back on, and just love it. It still runs cold chills over me. But and you get to do it with people that you enjoy being with. And all of these folks here at some time or another, I'm in electric, Doug's in gas, water, sewer. Doug used to be my manager in electric. I worked with Doug when he was in system operations. Everything we break, I've got to call and aggravate Lynn to get it fixed. Or I call my boss and say, hey, call Lynn. But meters group over here, you can't have electric without meters. I've enjoyed working with, and human resources, deal with those folks a lot. Usually it's not good when you're dealing with them, unless we're hunting people. But it's like a big family. There's probably, how many employees do we have now? Almost 1,200. I know most of them by face because I'm terrible with names, but just it's great to come to work with these folks every day.
Yeah, so there's a lot I could say about KUB, being there as long as I have, but you know, I would say that maybe what I was looking for as a young man coming into the utility business is it looks a lot different for folks, perhaps in the position you're in now. But stability was so important to me, and that's one thing that my dad had instilled in me. My dad also worked at KUB back in the 60s when there was one bucket truck there. So you climbed every pole that you came up on. But yeah, I'd say, you know, stability is so important. KUB's never had a layoff. You think about 2008, 2009, when the economy just absolutely crashed, and you had millions and millions of people that lost their jobs. Now, there was a time we went through a period where we might not have backfilled folks who retired or through attrition or left the company for some reason, but we had the stability there. We never lost a paycheck. So yeah, that, and then two, just contributing to the environment and growth of our community, and attracting business to our community. And what do these large corporations look at? The reliability of the electric system, the availability of a certain quality of water and water pressure at their location. You think about wastewater. I know you don't think about wastewater much. Most time when it leaves our house, we don't care where it goes. But growth follows wastewater. If you don't have sewer, you're not going to have growth and development in your communities. And on the electric system, we touch eight counties. So I think just being able to see that and see that infrastructure go in is really rewarding every day, every week, and at the end of the fiscal year when you look back and say, wow, we put in almost 100,000 feet of new gas main, this past year, and look at the affordable housing and the folks that want to come to Tennessee. Look at what an impact that's making. Okay.
I just want to say thank you again for you all taking the time out to come and spend your afternoon with us and for answering all of our questions. Ms. Eden, who's one of their HR representatives, is in the back over there. She has some job postings and some other information. So if you all would like to go introduce yourselves to her and learn some more about some of the positions they have available, please make your way that way. And thank you for coming to our event today.